and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Mike and Mike Show on a little segment I like to call Mikey Speaks. Today's subject, we are going to discuss 80s movies with the best soundtrack. Now, there's a lot of them out there. A lot of them. I mean, there's great ones like St. Elmo's Fire. There's great ones like Flashdance. But these are my top five favorite movies from the 80s with what I feel is the best soundtrack. Now, there is no right or wrong answer. It's been done and done and done and done, and everybody's is different, and that's fine. So, with that being said, here are my top five movies from the 80s with the best soundtrack. Number five from 1986 is the classic air pilot movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, Kelly McGillis, and Tom Skerritt. This movie was a great, great film. Tom Cruise, of course, lead character, was great in this film. All the actors were great in this film, every one of them. But it's a treasure trove of 80s gems. And we're talking about songs like Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins, Mighty Wings by Cheap Trick, and of course, the one song from this movie that I did not like, but everybody else did, and that's fine. Take My Breath Away by Berlin. For some reason, I did not like this song. They overplayed it on the radio when the movie came out, of course. That may have had something to do with it, but Berlin is just not one of my favorite groups. But it fit this movie perfectly. The soundtrack fit this movie perfectly. It is a classic movie, and it's worth a watch. Now, I have not watched the sequel, Top Gun Maverick. I have not watched it yet. I own it, but I haven't watched it. As a matter of fact, it's over here on the shelf, and it's still in the wrapper. I haven't even took it out of the wrapper. So I have to take it out and watch it. Everybody says it's decent, it's good, but like I said, I just haven't watched it yet. So, moving on. Now, number four on my list is the 1987 classic, The Lost Boys. Of course, this is one of my favorite movies. I talk about this movie a lot. It is a great vampire flick. It stars Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, David Harriman, I think's his name, Edward Harriman. I'm sorry, Edward Harriman, Jamie Gertz, Jason Patric, and Alex Winter. Now, Alex Winter also played in one of my favorite comedies of all time, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was great in those, and he was excellent in this movie as a vampire. This movie is classic. It is Richard Donner to a T, and it is 80s music to a T, with songs from not only INXS, but Roger Daltrey, Lou Gramm. And I also want to comment on one of the songs, don't hate me for it, People Are Strange. Now, this song, I love this song, and for some reason, unbeknownst to anyone, not even to me, but for some reason, I thought People Are Strange was sung in this movie, for this movie, by the Doors. But it is not. It is sung by Echo and the Bunnymen. Now, that shocked the crap out of me when I was looking this up. But, it's a great song. I love the song. It's excellent. It fits this movie perfectly. And there was also a scene in this film at the carnival with a saxophone player who was performing on stage. Now, everybody remembers this iconic scene from this movie for some reason. But anyway, this gentleman, his name is Tim Capello, and he played saxophone for Tina Turner in the 80s and the 90s. Now, this movie had a great soundtrack to it. The story was great. The movie was great. The special effects were great. And it's just a classic 80s vampire film. One of my favorites. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. You won't only enjoy the soundtrack, but you'll enjoy the movie as well. Now, that being said, here we go. We're moving on. Number three on my list is from 1984, and it is the dance classic Footloose with Kevin Bacon, Laurie Singer, Sarah Jessica Parker, Chris Penn, and John Lithgow, and of course, Diane West from The Lost Boys also played in Footloose. Now, this movie was when the soundtrack came out, it hit number one. It was number one on the Billboard Top 200 chart from April 21st of 1984 until June 23rd of 1984. It had 6 100 top 40 hits, and 2 of them was at number 1, and that was Kenny Loggins' Footloose and Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. This is 80s gold. It has an iconic scene at the end of the film. The dance scene at the end of the film is an iconic scene. It helped boost Kevin Bacon's career for sure. Now, Kevin Bacon got his start in Friday the 13th, the original slasher film, the OG Friday the 13th, one of my favorite films also. He is excellent in this movie. All the characters are good in this movie. John Lithgow plays in this movie. Now, I'm not a real big fan of John Lithgow, but his role in Footloose fit him perfectly. He did it very well. I was very surprised and very happy with his portrayal of his character as the pastor in this movie. This movie has a great soundtrack. If you have not seen it, please watch the movie. You'll enjoy not only the movie, but the soundtrack as well. So, now, with that being said, moving on to my number 2 pick for my top 80s movies with the best soundtrack. Now, I want to ask a question, and you can answer it down in the comments if you want to, or you can just answer it in your own mind. And I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. If you want to mention a couple of them down in the comments below, that'd be fine. Is there a song that you have ever heard in a movie, and it doesn't have to be 80s, it could be 80s, 90s, 2000s now, that you have heard from a film that has gotten stuck in your head, and you could not get it out of your head? You had to look it up and listen to the song just to get it out of your system, just to hear it. Now, excuse me 1 second. Now, think of that song. Now, the one for me that I'm talking about now was from 1987, and it was Axel F. from Beverly Hills Cop. They played that song throughout the movie. I mean, they played other songs, but they always went back to the original theme of Axel F. through that whole film. It had songs by Glenn Frey, the Pointer Sisters, and a woman that did a song for this movie whose career was in a slump was Miss Patti LaBelle. Her career was going downhill somewhat, and when she put out the song for this film, it helped boost her career, which is great because Patti LaBelle was a great singer, a great singer. So were the others. Pointer Sisters were great. Glenn Frey was great. Heat Is On, one of my favorite songs. But anyways, this movie was true synthesizer rock overload. The whole film, okay? It had a great soundtrack. The action was great. The comedy was great, of course, with Eddie Murphy. It had Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, John Ashton, among others, was in this movie. Even the second one had a really good soundtrack. The second one had a song by, what's his name? It was in my head. Bob Seger, Shakedown. Great song for the second movie. But anyway, this movie was great. It is an action movie, action comedy film. One of the greats from the 80s. And one of Eddie Murphy's better films, or best films, not better films. Eddie Murphy had a lot of great films. But this one really stood out from the 80s because of the soundtrack. I mean, it had a great soundtrack to it. It pulled you in. The Axel F song got into your head. You couldn't get it out. Then Crazy Frog came out, which made it even worse. But anyway, with that being said, this movie was great. The soundtrack was great. I love it. Now, we are on to number 1. My number 1 movie from the 80s with the best soundtrack is, drum roll please, Dirty Dancing. Now, a lot of people are saying, what? You've seen Dirty? Of course I've seen Dirty Dancing. Okay? Just because I'm into action movies and horror movies doesn't mean I haven't seen Dirty Dancing. Okay? I've seen Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing is an iconic movie. I'm telling you, this movie is filled with 60s R&B music, along with songs written exclusively for the film, one of which was sung by Patrick Swayze himself. You can't get no better than that, okay? You just can't. All right, now, this movie was great. The dance sequences in this film were very well done, very well choreographed. The acting was great. I mean, you can't go wrong with Patrick Swayze. Jennifer Grey was in this film as well. And it's just iconic from start to finish. From start to finish, the time period was done correctly. There wasn't. You're not looking at this film as a movie that was filmed in the '80s. This movie was, of course, the time period I think was earlier than that, of course. But I mean, this movie was incredible. From the acting, from the storyline, from the screenplay, from the soundtrack. I mean, all the way down the line, this movie was great. The iconic dance scene at the end, just like Footloose had an iconic dance scene at the end, so did this film. Patrick Swayze was great in this movie. It was one of his best films. Of course, now, not only did I like Dirty Dancing, I also liked Roadhouse. Roadhouse is one of my favorite films of all time. But this movie, there's not enough you could say about this movie, and it would do it justice, to be honest. Um, Now I hadn't seen the second one, the Havana Nights. I haven't seen it. A lot of people said it was good. Not as good as the first, but a lot of people have said it was good. But I haven't watched it yet. I don't know. I might watch it at some point in time. Maybe do it, or maybe I'll watch it and do like a first reaction video when I first watch it. I don't know. I haven't really got into being able to do that just yet. I would like to do a first time watch reaction video, but I'm not sure exactly how to go through the process of it because there's a lot of like editing, a lot of cutting, and all that kind of stuff to do in it. But maybe somewhere down the line, once I get used to everything, maybe then I can do it. But yeah, Dirty Dancing, number one on my top '80s soundtrack movies of all time. Um, like I said, all these were good, and I mean, there's iconic films, like I said earlier. There's other movies like St. Elmo's Fire. There's Flashdance. There's Grease. Of course, Grease wasn't in the '80s, but there's a lot of other movies, a lot of other films that had good soundtracks. But these are my top five. My top five picks from the '80s with the best soundtrack. If you agree, that's wonderful. If you disagree, that's fine. If I forgot any, which I'm sure I did, if I forgot any, mention them down in the comments below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Um, I know I'm bringing out a lot of videos here lately. It's because I do have the spare time. I'm like I said in a video before, I'm kind of off from work for a while. Hopefully, I'll be getting back to work real soon. And I would like to set a schedule. Um, but for now, I'm just going to try to make videos as often as I can. When I go back to work, it may be 1 to 2 days a week, maybe on like a Monday and a Friday. But I'll let you know for sure once I get back to work and get that sorted out and fit in. But like I said, thanks for watching the video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. To those of you that have subscribed, thank you very much for your subscription to the channel. Please like and comment and share with your friends. Get us out there. Let everybody know that we're making videos. And hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.